Hello, and thank you for listening to Texas History for Kids. I'm your host, Michelle Gallegos, an educator, writer, history nerd, and novice investigator. Each week on the show, we will learn about interesting parts of Texas history, from battles and historical figures to the odd and enchanted. Welcome back to Texas History for Kids. This is episode 85, and I'm your host, Michelle Gallegos. And joining me today is the one and only
Zoe.
Before you listen, don't forget to grab the resources that accompany this episode by clicking on the Resources tab in the show notes. Zoe, what's that you're holding?
It's a complete old newspaper and it smells like it's 100 years old.
That, Zoe, is a newspaper from the Great Depression and one of the toughest times in Texas and American history.
Does that mean people were really sad?
Zoe, I think it's time for Zoe's Big Question.
And my big question today is, how do people even survive the Great Depression? Like, wasn't it just all doom and gloom?
That's what we're going to find out. And by the end of this episode, you'll learn 3 things. What life was really like in Texas during the Great Depression, the creative and quirky ways Texans survived, and how this tough time changed Texas forever. Imagine you wake up in your little Texas farmhouse one morning in 1935. You stretch, you yawn, you look outside, and it's pitch black. Not because it's nighttime, but because the wind has blown an entire wall of dust across your town. You can't see your front porch. You can't even see your own hand in front of your face. And when you finally do step outside, the ground crunches beneath your feet like you're walking on burnt toast. That dust gets in your clothes, your hair, and even your teeth. This is what life was like during the Great Depression, and especially during what we now call the Dust Bowl.
Okay, ew, that sounds gross and scary.
It was. But Texans are nothing if not tough, and that's the story we're telling today. First things first, what was the Great Depression? Well, it started in 1929 when the stock market crashed. The stock market is like a giant store where people can buy and sell little pieces of companies called stocks. But in October of 1929, stock prices dropped so fast and so far that millions of people lost their savings overnight. Banks closed, jobs vanished, and the United States entered the worst economic crisis it had ever seen. Now, add in the Dust Bowl, and things in Texas went from bad to worse. The Dust Bowl was a natural disaster caused by 2 big problems. The farmers in the Panhandle had plowed up the prairie grass that held in the soil in its place. And then the rain stopped for years. When strong winds swept across the bare, dry land, the soil simply turned to dust and blew away, creating giant clouds called black blizzards. People stuffed wet rags into the cracks of their doors and windows just to keep their homes from filling up with dirt. Even then, the dust got into everything. It destroyed crops, killed livestock, and forced thousands of Texans to leave the land they loved behind.
I can't even imagine living in that. That's double bad. No money, no food, and you had to pick up and leave your home.
During this time, money was so tight that some towns started printing their own paper money called scrip. which you could use at local stores. It wasn't worth anything outside of your town, but it was better than nothing. People also traded things like eggs for flour or a cow for a month's worth of bread.
I bet McDonald's didn't even accept script either, huh?
McDonald's wasn't even a thing in those days. In fact, fast food restaurants were in the very, very far future. So, how long did this all last? Well, for nearly 10 years. From 1929 to about 1939, the Great Depression affected almost every part of American life, not just jobs. Schools struggled. Many couldn't afford to pay teachers. Some kids dropped out to help their families earn money or work on the farm. Stores closed down. Towns shrank. And even hospitals ran low on supplies. People had to get creative. Neighbors shared gardens. Towns gave away cows to feed hungry families. And moms made clothes out of flour sacks.
Wait. You're telling me someone wore a pancake mix bag as a dress?
Yes, that's what a flour sack was back then. That's exactly what I'm telling you, and they made it look good too. And while Texans were scraping by, big things were happening across the United States. President Franklin Roosevelt launched something called the New Deal, which created jobs, buildings, roads, bridges, schools, and parks, including a lot of parks here in Texas. And just as things were starting to improve, in 1939, World War II began in Europe. And by 1941, the United States joined the war, and factories all over America, including Texas, suddenly needed workers to build tanks, airplanes, ships, and even uniforms for the soldiers.
Oh, so people who couldn't find work before finally had jobs again?
That's right. The war created so many jobs that even women and teenagers started working in the factories to help out. Farmers grew more food to feed soldiers overseas, and people back home, kids included, began to collect scrap metal and rubber for the war effort.
Wait, why? What did they even do with it?
Great question. Scrap metal from old pots and pans and even cars was melted down to make tanks, ships, airplanes, and even bullets. Rubber from old tires, rain boots, and garden hoses was used to make tires for military trucks, life rafts for the Navy, and even gas masks for soldiers.
Wow. So even little stuff helped the big fight.
Exactly. Every bit counted. And that's why you'd see collected bins in the neighborhoods and schools that said, "Turn your trash into victory." So while the war itself was hard and scary, it also gave millions of Americans, including Texans, the chance to earn money again. And it officially ended the Great Depression. So when it was all over, Texans carried what they had learned with them for the rest of their lives. Many people kept gardening, sewing, and saving scraps even when they didn't have to anymore. They never forgot how important it was to help each other. The Great Depression also showed that Texans worked together and they can survive just about anything, whether it was a crashing economy, a dust storm, or even wearing pancake bags to school.
And you know what? That's actually kind of awesome.
It is. Hey teachers, parents, kids, whoever's out there in the listening world, do you want to keep learning after this episode ends? Head on over to txhistoryforkids.com where you'll find reading passages, printable activities, vocabulary lists, coloring pages, and more, all tied to the episode that you just heard. You can assign the episode as a listening activity and follow it up with a reading and reflection, or just let the kids read first and then hear it come to life through audio. Aren't sure if that's what you're looking for? Click my Send My Freebie link in the show notes and I'll send you a full packet of the Texas flag episode. Absolutely free. No strings attached. Now, back to the show. So let's compare then and now. Before we wrap up today's story, let's think about something. What did people do back then that we don't really do today? And what could we learn from them? Well, during the Great Depression, Texans wasted nothing. They saved scraps of cloth. They fixed broken things instead of throwing them out and buying new ones. And they grew their own vegetables. Families shared tools. Neighbors helped each other out. And kids even made their own toys.
That's so different from now. Like if my backpack rips, I just ask for a new one.
Exactly. Today, many people are used to replacing things instead of fixing them. And most of us buy our own food at the store instead of growing it ourselves. And we don't always know our neighbors the way people did back then. But there are still lessons we can use today, like instead of throwing clothes away when they get a hole, try sewing it or repurposing it. Instead of wasting food, save your leftovers for the next day or share with someone in need. And even though we don't face the same kind of hardships, we can still be good neighbors and help each other out when times get tough.
Kind of what they did during the devastating flood in Kerrville, when all kinds of people came out to help search and rescue the missing kids.
Exactly. Texans are known for helping each other out.
So maybe we should start thinking more like they did, even if we don't have to. Sometimes things happen that aren't explainable, and we still have to push through the tough times.
That's right. Their resourcefulness and kindness made them strong, and we could use a little more of that today.
Quiz time!
All right, detectives, time to test your memory.
What caused the Great Depression to begin?
If you said the stock market crash, bingo, you're a winner.
Question 2. What natural disaster made life even harder in the Texas Panhandle?
That's right, the Dust Bowl.
Question 3. How long did the Great Depression last? Almost 10 years!
Great job, everybody! Today you learned what life was like in Texas during the Great Depression, how resourceful people got through it, and how it shaped Texas for good. To answer Zoe's question, how did people survive the Great Depression? They survived by being tough, creative, and working together. Texans planted gardens, traded what they had, they sewed their own clothes, and more importantly, they helped their neighbors in need.
See? Pancake dress and all.
Exactly. Well, that wraps up today's episode. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe and check out our other stories.
And if you got a big Texas history question, send it to us. You never know, we might use it on the show. Stay curious.